there's so many people that have talked about Trump's involvement with Russia. They lose sight of the fact that it was actually the accusation was that Trump was involved with the Russian mafia, not that that Trump was actually working for Russia, right, for the government of Russia. And that's one of the things that, to be honest with you, I hadn't been cognizant of until I was reading through this the post on Chuck Grassley's site, is the fact that it was a connection, or it was alleged that he had a connection to the Russian mafia, not that he was an agent of Putin. And now it's transformed into in the most ridiculous sense. People were saying that he was a KGB agent back in the 80s, and he was a sleeper. Name. Yeah, and he had a code name and stuff, which is obviously completely ridiculous. But it points to how these stories got blown completely out of proportion. That went from literally nothing, fabricated by an Oppo research company, and turned into he's a Russian agent. And it's actually stuck on the left. The left genuinely believes that he is or has some kind of connection to the Russian government.
And what is it? In the 90s, one of his companies did a deal with some Russian landowner to make a hotel somewhere. It turned out that guy's brother was in the Russian mob. Is that like the connection that they're talking about?
No, this is the Crossfire Hurricane and the stuff. The Steele dossier, that was totally fabricated. Like there was
they suggested that like somehow the Russian mafia had gotten some blackmail on Trump with some secret tapes, and that there was this kind of
P tapes, remember?
Yeah, that kind of nonsense. But that's not even the craziness of that is not the point. The point is that they used this to completely freeze and hamstring every single law enforcement agency in this country. We don't even know what reports or referrals made it to whom. That shouldn't be happening. This isn't 1925 where you hand that kid a folder and run this down to the chief.
Yep.
No, you send the referral directly. Who knew what?
It got intercepted, didn't it?
I mean, that's on the table.
Or Bill Barr saw it and just was like, let's just pretend that doesn't exist.
I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Barr was like, I wonder if I'm going to be generous, his attitude was, wow, this is really bad, but let's de-escalate things and just put a stop to it now.
Like, let's not get too hasty kind of a thing?
Well, no, more like these people should go to jail because what they did is very criminal. However, that could lead to escalation politically and destabilization. So let's just stop where we are. He seemed like the kind of guy who's going to be like, now there, guys, like most Republicans.
Right.
The traditional Republicans being like, slow down there, Democrats. Bill Barr sees and he goes, oof. That's a lot of work to deal with, and it's going to create a historical political firestorm. So let's just, everybody, we'll call it a bad hair day, go about our business. I think that's plausible. Bill Barr was like, I don't want to do this because it's hard, it's big.
And then it starts implicating anybody that's perjured themselves, which is like James Clapper saying that he didn't.
Homie? All of them.
Yeah.
Christopher Wray, especially. Yep. I mean, we already have Christopher Wray on the record for lying over how and when he met with Joe Biden.
And take a look at how the Supreme Court handles these epic cases. And I mean epic as in like grandiose historical moments. Texas v. Pennsylvania in the 2020 election. What does the Supreme Court say? But I don't wanna. So they say no. It is the obligation of the Supreme Court to handle lawsuits at the state level in what's called original jurisdiction. Now, that's my opinion. I'm not a legal scholar. I'm sure there'll be legal scholars saying Tim Pool's wrong. Supreme Court can take what they want.
It's going to be a great Newsweek article.
Yeah.
Indeed. My point is, who do the states go to for adjudication in affairs if the Supreme Court says no? And this is my point, not to rehash all these old stories, but in the 2020 election case, questioning the validity of how judges and governors changed election rules in violation of, I believe it's Article 1 of the Constitution, or it's Article 1, I think, in violation of the Constitution, how the states have the right to handle, state legislatures handle their election rules. The Supreme Court said, we're not going to hear it. It is typical of the establishment conservative regime to say, stop, we don't want to have to do this. Whereas Democrats are like, turn on the steamroller and pedal to the metal.
And they even found, again, they would take federal cases in the case of Letitia James with Trump. They would take federal statutes, multiply them by 34, and then charge them at the state level with Trump. But you have Republican governors who, again, take what you describe as kind of the Bill Barr, well, let's not get too hasty. Let's just simmer down. We'll just move forward. You even saw this with Representative McIver, right? The Trump DOJ suggested from that attorney from Newark that they were going to move forward if she wanted to move forward, maybe just apologize, and they refused to. So now Trump's administration is saying, all right, fine. You don't want to move forward? All right, let's get out the boxing gloves.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.